Hello there, welcome to a Balatro tip. Now this is to do with runs. So on the run info here, I'm just going to click on here. So on run info, there's your run info there that you can probably see. And as you can see, basically you've got the blue number being the chips, the red number being the multipliers. So one times the other will give you the score you get, plus you add to the value of the chips the values of each of your cards that you play, and then you add the multipliers and also value to the chips for the jokers. So in that instance there, that you've got a 4+ multiplier. But this isn't so much about the jokers. This is just to make you aware that what you need to be mindful of is before you play your card, before you hit OK. So if I go onto here and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. On the left, it's saying I've got a 2 pair level 2, and it's giving me 43 there. Plus, I'll get the score for each of those values there. But you just need to be mindful, because what might intuitively be a lesser hand on your run info might be a better hand because you've leveled it up using the planet cards. Now, let me just show you something on here about leveling up and planet cards and how that works. I've done a bit of studying of this. This is something that many people won't know. So here, and I'll move myself up out of the way so you can see all the values here. I'll move myself down out of the way. Here's a little graph or a little table which shows you the amount of multipliers you get for each of the different hands. For this, you've got the lower numbers, the more basic ones. So the high card, for example, is on the level 1 is 5 times 1, and then for each level up you get the second blue and red columns of what you get. So one thing you can see on here are, for example, straights. If you compare a straight with a flush, the straights actually, even though the straight in its first default position of 30 times 4 compared to a flush is 35 times 4, every time it levels up, the straight goes up by 30 times 3, whereas the flush only goes up by 15. So then, what I'm showing to the right there in the green and the red numbers, red being the best return for your hands, and this is assuming a card value of 7. So I've done the maths assuming a card value of 7 here, is all the card values contribute to the score. So an average card value, so I know in some instances it doesn't always work, but just as an illustration, what it's basically showing is that if you can get the straights, if I move myself up here, the straight versus the flush over here, a straightlet is getting 2,900 at level 5 compared to a flush at 1,560. So even though you quite often go for the flush because they're probably easier to get than a straight, if you level up the straights, sometimes they're going to give you a bigger return. So let me just show you something else with regards to that. So this here is the same. This is exactly the same information, but in a tabular form, in a table form. And what it's showing is, if you go along the bottom, so the first little graph down here, which I'm above now, is a high card. Then we go pair, and then we go 2 pair, 3 of a kind, straight and flush. So I'm over the straight now. So there's the straight I'm right over now. So the straight gives you the best return per level up compared to everything until you get to 4 of a kind. That's something many people don't know. And then you go to the top end scores after that. Now, did you know that on the Balatro, it shows you on the runs all of the different types of hands, but they're actually 5 of a kind, flush house, and flush 5 on top of the ones you by default see, okay? And straight flush, I think, is on there. So there are, if you like, almost like combination hands, which are a betterment of the hands that contribute to that. So the learning from this, folks, is in the first instance, be mindful that although straights are more difficult to get, you do get quite a good, you're getting a bigger multiplier per straight than you will per flush, for example, and it's the best return per level for those lower classifications of cards, okay? Coming back to the Balatro game itself, as you can see, it only shows you from the high card down here going all the way up to straight flush, but then there are those different hands which are hidden, and you occasionally see those when you get your raw, whatever the other cards were. I forget what they were called, but whatever the other hands were, when you get those as well, you can go even further. So be mindful when you put in the cards here, when you select them, and I can even use that as a little discard when you select them, just look across this side over here on the value that it's going to give you. So if we hit this play now, let's just play the hand. Let's check my maths. 2 pair level 2. Let's play the hand. 2 pair level 2 has just given me. I can't check it because my little table is assuming cards on an average of 7, but on an average of face cards, so 10s, that would have given me 988. So just be mindful. Select them on the hand, and you can always deselect them again and just look at the different combinations, and then look over here and see what it's given you as your chips and multiplier before you press go. And then also be mindful of your jokers at the top, how they're going to affect this as well. Lots to think about. Give me some comments and look out for my further Balatro tips. Catch you guys on the Balatro flip side. I couldn't have said it better myself.